Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Chargers and Eagles had a turnover fest that needed extra football to settle. Daniel Jones is out for the year, but the Colts may have an interesting trick up their sleeve. And the Chiefs, they're done.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
We appreciate you listening to Locked On Sports Today, and we have something exciting for our loyal Locked On listeners. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get your favorite local Locked On show with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and Locked On Sports Today. That's us. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/everydayersclub or check the link in the show notes to learn more. This will be the final week Locked On Sports Today is available on this feed. It was not the cleanest game we've ever seen on Monday Night Football at SoFi Stadium between the Eagles and the Chargers. In fact, I would say one of the sloppiest in terms of turnovers and some, I'm like Keystone Cops turnovers in this one. But the Chargers come out with a tipped interception, a fitting way to end this one, and a 22-19 overtime win as the gauntlet of their schedule is just really heating up here. Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers joins me now. And Daniel, we were chatting before we came on here that they really needed this win because of the way the schedule plays out here, because of the AFC playoff race. How were they able to find a way at the end after really giving up what had been a comfortable lead for much of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to their defense. You have to give a hat tip to the offense for gritting out a couple of field goal drives there at the end, but the offense was borderline unwatchable after the first drive for most of that game. It was the defense that kept them in it and ended up winning the game fittingly. But yeah, I think you could just play the Jalen Hurts interception, recovered fumble, then fumbling himself, and then just be like, yeah, you watched the game. That was the whole entire game. But yeah, I mean, this is what they need, man. Like they are going to need their defense to go and win them some of these games. Like I'm looking at that Houston Texans game in a couple weeks. Like that, the Chargers might score 3 points. Like, I mean, like they might not score at all in that game. So their defense came up huge. They set them up for multiple scoring opportunities. And I think with the limited version of the offense that we're seeing right now with Justin Herbert and his broken hand and, you know, a lack of pass protection to say the least, that's going to have to be how it is in these last 5 games where, yeah, they have to win 2 of the last 5. Winning 1 of the last 4 seems a lot more doable with the teams they have ahead.
Yeah, and they got Omarion Hampton back. We expected that to be an impactful part of this offense, and he was. He had that 18-yard run in the second half, had a nice little run in overtime there. 13 for 56 is not going to, have anyone write any songs about him anytime soon. But if this team is going to be able to move the ball offensively, it seems like the ground right now is their best chance of doing it, and that includes Justin Herbert making plays with his legs.
Yeah, aka leading rusher Justin Herbert.
Yes.
And
I should have opened with leading rusher for the Chargers, Justin Herbert.
Leading rusher, one-handed Justin Herbert. Yeah, they're going to need it. And as much as you want him to protect himself, and we saw the ball security come into play several times in this game where, he couldn't grab it with 2 hands and it squirted away. Yeah, like they need these guys back, and they need a functioning running offense if they're going to have any chance in these games. And I thought we were going to get a heavy dose of it early, but Greg Roman went away from it in a big chunk of this game, and they were able to find it at the end. But I do think that Justin Herbert just keeping a couple of those read options just to keep a defense honest helps out so much. And he pulled a few of them at the end, including the game-tying drive, and then what ended up being the game-winning drive. So Omarion Hampton, Kamani Vidal has been really good too, had the 60-yard catch in this game. They're going to have to lean on those guys heavily, because if you watch this game, you see just how futile it is when they know they have to pass. Like their passing offense right now is really, really hard to watch. They're not going to make the playoffs unless their running game stays consistent.
Where is the play action? I see the Rams. I see a lot of teams that have, I would say, not the Rams in this case, but that don't have some of the skill talent that the Chargers do, make a passing game work with an offensive line in flux. With some of these, play action is not even a modern concept. Yeah. Is that something you think they could find? Like, what is holding them back from hitting some of those easy buttons that other teams are using?
And that's the frustrating thing when you watch this game is like you see some of these windows that Jalen Hurts is throwing into, and it's like, man, I don't know if I've seen Justin Herbert throw into anything bigger than a shoebox in this game. Like there are no easy buttons for this offense right now, and it did seem like on that first drive they had Justin Herbert going under center. They pulled a couple of play actions. I don't know if something happened, if one of the hits made him unable to be able to get back under center and run the play action like they need to, but they like when they're under center play action, they're 7th in the league in passer rating. When they're trying to run play action out of shotgun, it's just not nearly as effective. They go to 19th in the league in passer rating when they're trying to run play action out of the shotgun. It's just not the same. So I don't know if there was something that made Justin Herbert unable to keep going under center, but they need him to be able to do that because the play action was the only thing keeping that offensive passing game alive for most of the beginning of the season. And if they get down in these games, if they get away from it, they're not going to have a chance. So they're able to squeak this one out, but they need to get back to that under center play action game if they want to find those chunks in the passing game again.
Stay up to date all year on the Chargers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Chargers on your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Colts are in free fall, but a potential 44-year-old may come to save the day. Before we get to that, the Suns and Timberwolves went back and forth in a Western Conference showdown. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. The Suns and Timberwolves battled in a close game.
The Phoenix Suns defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves 108-105, stealing yet another victory from the Minnesota Timberwolves without Jalen Green, without Devin Booker. And it was the guy who I made a lot of people upset about last week, suggesting that Colin Gillespie should be in the starting lineup over Jalen Green. And no, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And Colin Gillespie had 11 points in this fourth quarter, was a part of that big 7-0 run to help initially get them up in the fourth quarter. And this team has a mindset, has a tenacity, has a culture to them that it's not just defensive driven. It's just, we are going to try really, really hard every night, and it's going to piss you off. Is it going to lead to playoff wins? Probably not. That's what a lot of other teams are going to do in the playoffs too. But what the Suns are kind of doing is the Nova Knick style of basketball that never goes out of style, that works really well in the regular season. And it's one of the reasons why this team continues to stay afloat and continues to change your expectations.
The Pelicans look to snap their 6-game losing skid against the Spurs.
The New Orleans Pelicans fall to the San Antonio Spurs in a game where a lot of people in New Orleans are not going to be focused on the final score. You know, at halftime, it felt like another in a long line of these games where the Pelicans get blown out in the first half. Second half, it doesn't really matter. Their offense has been good since James Borrego took over, but the defense, they can't get a stop. The Spurs scored 77 points in the first half alone, and it just felt like lifeless in the Smoothie King Center. And then the second half arrived, and Derek Queen took over. He's been struggling in this new James Borrego fast-paced team, the game that the Pelicans are bringing to the court. But he took over in this game. They let him play his way. He ran the offense. The offense ran through him in a way we haven't seen in weeks, and it looked beautiful. After having 4 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists in the first half, Derek Queen finished with a 33, 10, and 10 triple-double, establishing himself once again as the face of this young team and sort of making Pelicans fans feel good about not having a first-round pick, as funny as that may seem, at just 3-22.
The Pacers took down the Kings.
You see this? I had to buy myself a fake beam in the Golden One Center because I don't really see it too much anymore. And of course I put it on a bunch of Dungeons & Dragons books because I have to role play the Sacramento Kings being a fun and interesting basketball team. Hey, at least they battled back from down 19 to take the lead in the fourth quarter before completely falling apart. If I'm being nitpicky about something, which I think I've earned the right to here in Sacramento, why aren't the young guys on the floor there at the end? At least Maxime Reynaud was. And look, he made a lot of mistakes down the stretch. He low-key got cooked. But I want to see Neat Clifford out there with him. I want to see these guys make mistakes. Do we really think it would have been that much worse had the Sacramento Kings had their young guys out there instead of letting DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Russell Westbrook lose again? No disrespect to those guys. Russell Westbrook had another triple-double. He actually had a fantastic game. Kings showed good fight, no doubt about it. But with where this season is at, showing good fight just isn't enough to make Kings fans excited. Is the trade deadline here yet?
It has been a wild few days in Colts land. First, Daniel Jones, who is playing with a broken leg, by the way, tears his Achilles and is going to be out for the season. And the Colts, in the process, lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars 36-19. They now sit at 8-5. And if you're really feeling like Debbie Downer, there's a shot this team now misses the postseason depending on what happens at quarterback. So the question is, Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts, what do you do at quarterback? Well, Zach, we got an answer on Monday night. It sounds like Phil Rivers is the answer. What's going on?
They have nobody else, Peter. they literally so the Colts right now, Daniel Jones is out for this season and probably most of next season with the torn Achilles, right? That was supposed to be their answer, their guy they're going all in on. Their backup quarterback, Anthony Richardson, nearly lost an eye earlier this season because of equipment malfunction, and he's unlikely to come back this season. Their third string quarterback, Riley Leonard, is week to week with a knee injury following this past game, as Adam Schefter reported. And the only other guy who has been in the organization this year, Brett Rippon, was more so there because he's buddies with Daniel Jones more than anything else. So the only guy available on the market that knows this offense is Grandpa Phil Rivers, 44-year-old, who has been out of the NFL for the last 5 years. Look, given he had a good season with the Colts back in 2020, but even then you could see the arm was degrading, the mobility was degrading. He was 39 years old. Now he's 44. I can't imagine his arm got better unless he's on the Tom Brady supplement thing that he was doing those last couple years of his career. But yeah, the Colts are kind of at this point where it's like, it's going to be terrible regardless with whoever they're going to throw out there. At least Phillip Rivers probably knows the system. So I guess we got to see what he can do in this tryout tomorrow to see if he's even capable of throwing a football anymore.
Well, he's probably gonna be able to throw a football, until he's in a wheelchair, and even then he'll be Uncle Rico talking about how he can throw a football over those mountains. And by the way, I checked while you were talking. Phillip Rivers, you said Grandpa Rivers is actually a grandfather. I did not know that. I don't know if you knew that, but that makes this even funnier. Because that's the joke with Aaron Rodgers, for example. Well, Phillip Rivers is multiple years older than Aaron Rodgers. And so this is a team, Zach, that has gone all in on this season. They traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, who played, half a game? He's hurt too. The vibes right now in Indy, if you're a Colts fan, you just have to be going, can we catch a break here?
I mean, look, it's no anything new to Indiana sports right now. We just saw one of the greatest stories in the history of basketball come up short with their star player tearing his Achilles in Game 7. Caitlin Clark went through what she went this past season as well. It's no new story when it comes to Indiana sports. When it comes to this season, you get a little bit of success, but then you get it all ripped away from you. And of course, they had to let us trade our 2 first-round picks before they took away our quarterback. They couldn't have done it a couple weeks earlier.
Someone put Fernando Mendoza in bubble wrap, please.
Honestly, Indiana football, I mean, you got to put everyone on bubble wrap right now. I'm terrified for them going for it. Notre Dame was smart to opt out of the bowl game after this. But it's just how it is, I guess. Football is an unromantic sport. You can make it romantic if you want, but it is an unforgiving sport, and that's kind of the nature of where we're at with the Colts right now. I don't want to be all downer right here. You want to be excited. They're 8-5 right now. They're 1 game out of the playoffs, but their options right now, again, are a guy there's 2 types of backup quarterbacks in the NFL, right? The guy who's friends with the starter and guys who can actually come in and win games. The only guy on the roster is a guy who's friends with the starter or 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. You could have the greatest roster in football and you're not going to win with that. But now they're looking at with a roster that's not the best in football Injuries across the board. No DeForest Buckner, no Sauce Gardner. Mooney Ward is facing his third concussion of the season. And like, it's not like Phillip Rivers, even if you get prime Phillip Rivers, I don't know if they're beating the Seahawks on Sunday. So, it's kind of the nature of where this team's at right now. You don't want to be too much of a doomer because they're 8-5, but what's the avenue going forward? They play 4 playoff teams the rest of the way.
It's not inconceivable that they finish 8-9, right?
No, it's likely they finish 8-9 is what we need to say right here. I mean, look, Phillip Rivers is starting this weekend. Probably, if he's good if he comes in tomorrow and says I want to play, he's starting against the Seattle Seahawks, Peter.
No.
It's not that
That's
it's
elder abuse. That is elder abuse.
They will go 8-9, Peter. Oh man, what has happened, man? I don't know. I really can't even go. Like, how does this happen? Like, it is what it is.
Stay up to date all year on the Indianapolis Colts by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Colts on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Kansas City Chiefs are finito. The Kansas City Chiefs have made the playoffs in every year of the Patrick Mahomes era. In fact, they've made the conference championship game in every year of the Patrick Mahomes era. But that's likely to change this season. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland and Louis DiBiase explain how and why the Chiefs are done.
It was what we all did not expect to see, but it finally happened. The Chiefs just keep on losing. They can't figure things out. They drop to the Texans 20-10, and it does look like the season is over. And, over on Locked On Chiefs, they see it for what it is as well.
Chiefs hand the ball, this game, and their season away against the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. No excuses, nothing else you can do. The Stars gave it up. A lot of injuries in this. There's a lot to go into it. The defense showed its backbone, but it wasn't enough. And the offense, that is usually the strength of this team, has continued its downward spiral to the point that they are not going to be in the postseason contention. Though they have a mathematical chance still, what happens next? This is a failure of multiple stars and certainly of the coaching staff. We're going to break it all down on Locked On Chiefs with my partner, Chris Clark. And we're going to be here 5 days a week until the end of the season and through the draft and through next season. Nothing stops because this dynasty still has a chance to resurge, but it's not going to happen right now.
And they're already talking draft in Chiefs land now, and that kind of tells you where it's at. And what I found so insane about this game is just how bad it all went down. This just wasn't a fender bender. This was the big one at Talladega, man. Like, it blew up in smoke. Mahomes having that long stretch of time where he couldn't complete a pass and he had multiple interceptions. The drops by the Chiefs offense throughout the game, going for it on fourth down. It's just, you could tell they were pressing every single button, pulling every trick they had left in the hat, and it wasn't going to work.
Look, when the margin of error is that small, when you're playing close games year after year, game after game, even for a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who normally are so good at finding ways to win, to make the play to win the game, not to lose the game, eventually it's very hard to sustain that level of high success when you play that style of ball. And obviously, like, Travis Kelce choked that away. Mahomes had some up and down plays. Rashee Rice had some drops. But again, like, when the margin of error is that small, you can't afford any sort of mistakes. And so it feels like the Chiefs' luck has kind of run out. And that's, again, what happens when you do this year after year. You eventually will regress to the means. And a lot of teams have done that in the past, and it's finally caught up to Kansas City.
No, it 100% caught up to them, and you could tell they looked like a team that just couldn't get anything to go their way, and it looks like a team that probably had a lot of things go their way. And you don't want to say, they won because they got lucky and things went their way. That's not the point. The point is what you're saying, where you have so many things go right, you win so many close score games, so many things break your way throughout the years, even if you deserve them and even if you play well and all that different stuff. But this just looked like a team where they are at the end of this version of the Chiefs. We're gonna need to see who without Travis Kelce and maybe without Andy Reid. I think that's gonna be a big conversation here going forward. Is it maybe time for Andy Reid to step aside. I think it might be too early to have those conversations. I don't think Big Red is had the game passing by or anything like that, but the Chiefs are clearly at the end of a life cycle, and they need to kind of shed their skin and become a new animal.
The roster is just not good enough now.
And finally, the NHL hasn't gone to the Winter Olympics since 2014. That was supposed to change in 2022 before COVID happened. But don't worry, the NHL is set to go to the 2026 Winter Games in February. Oh, wait, not so fast. Milan officials screwed up the ice surfaces. They made them smaller than the regulation size. Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley said, if players feel the ice is unsafe, we are not going to play. Yikes. Maybe NHL players will play in the 2030 Olympics? Who knows at this point? If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, the winter meetings are in full effect across baseball. What's the next big domino to fall? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.